You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast, episode number 151.
Top 9 paranormal news and events of 2019. Number 2, Area 51 Fiasco.
Yeah. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is our top 9 paranormal news and events of 2019, number 2.
Yeah.
So what we've been decided to do is, go through and do a bunch of episodes because what we realize is that a lot of people in podcasts take a break over the holidays, and we're not gonna.
Yeah. Instead, we're going to do these mini holiday seasonal episodes about all the top stuff that happened this year.
Yes, all the top stuff that happened in 2019.
Yeah.
So, anyway, if this is your very first time tuning in to the podcast, we're glad you're here, and we do appreciate you listening. And what's this CreepGeeks Podcast all about?
Well, the CreepGeeks Podcast is an offbeat news podcast that takes a lighthearted approach to the paranormal, cryptid, strange, the silly, and trending tech topics circulating the web, broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if this is, like I said, your very first time listening to the podcast, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping, if you will.
Okay.
These are different ways you can support the podcast. We have a website called CreepGeeks.com, and on that website is a contact form. So if you have something you'd like to share, a story or an experience you had, you can certainly do that.
Yep.
And if you want to remain anonymous, just say, I would like to remain anonymous. And if it's cool, we're going to go ahead and put it on the podcast. Yeah, and then you'll hear us talk about it. So that's one way you can support that. You can also kind of go through and peruse the content at your leisure.
Yes.
See all the good stuff that we have there. And it's also a place where we put all of our podcasts. You can kind of go back and take a look. We also have a Facebook group. What's it called?
CreepGeeks Facebook group.
Yes, where lots of people share lots of things about paranormal, weird stuff, funny stuff,
And
all sort of related there.
Have an official Facebook page as well as Instagram and Twitter. Basically, CreepGeeks Podcast. You can find us on our Facebook page. You can find out when our latest episodes are going live and everything else we're doing. So be sure to hit like and follow.
Yes. And if you're listening to the podcast on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or any of those places, and you'd like to leave a review, that'd be super cool. We'd very much appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And about the final way you can support the podcast is if you are shopping on Amazon.com to buy something, as we all do. If you use our affiliate link and buy something, we'll get a small percentage. Doesn't cost you anything at all, and it does help support the show. It helps keep gas flowing and coffee in the Albino Rhino when we take our adventures. And we go out and we travel, because we do part-time paranormal investigation and cryptid research and all that kind of good stuff too. And we have a DIY camper van that we use. It's called the Albino Rhino, and that was actually named by a contest winner.
Yeah, we
Fun
had
fact.
A contest on the podcast to name our van.
And so it is the Albino Rhino. And we do have a link for that.
It's going to be amazon.com/shop/CheapGeek.
Yes. So to kick off our top 9 paranormal news and events of 2019, number 2. This was in the news and became super relevant and then became super irrelevant in short order. Yeah. This is the Area 51, Storm Area 51 Fiasco.
And this
started on Facebook, right? Storm Area 51. They can't stop us all, or whatever it was. And it was basically, hey, let's get a bunch of people together and we're going to storm Area 51 and see what's there. It's pretty much what it was, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I do have to say this is one of the biggest things that happened in the paranormal UFO community this year.
It was huge.
I mean, because
they can't stop all of us. That was the tagline for it.
It involved everybody, anybody from like, Instagrammers to like meme people to the actual paranormal community. Yeah. Everybody had something to say about this. And it was an event created by, I guess, this kid named Matty Roberts on June 27th, 2019. And he laid out in the Facebook event it would involve raiding the site in search for extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
Now, more than 2 million people responded going and 1.5 million interested on the events page.
Yeah, so this basically got widespread media reaction and probably a little bit of panic.
Yeah.
Because if you're the government, you're like, okay, let's keep an eye on this sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And more importantly, if you're like the person that keeps an eye on that kind of thing and you're just a low-ranking person in the military, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, man. Then you got to go turn in. And so this event was like, Storm Area 51, Raid Area 51, right? Area 51 Raid.
Yeah.
So it became a thing.
And it went from not just, like people that we respect in the community, like George Knapp covering the story, but I mean, it went so
even
far
I
as
think
like,
Bob Lazar even said, "Don't do it."
Yeah, but but then these respected people in the community are like, "This is a joke," or "This is for your own safety. Do not engage in this event." It went so far as MSNBC and Fox News.
Oh yeah,
and
USA
CNN.
Today. All these places were put out there.
Like they were putting their 2 cents in as if they had anything to say about Area
anything.
51 and UFOs, but. It grew and grew. I mean, originally, the Matty Roberts, he was like, this event was a comedic attempt to, throw light at something that bothers everybody, But it just took off. I mean, it grew a life of its own.
Yeah, they were even going to have like music festivals, right?
Yeah, like
so it's like on the day of the event.
Yeah,
they were like, okay, we're going to have music festivals, alien stock, Rachel, Nevada. It was like. All these okay, so the itty bitty places that are around Area 51.
Yeah.
We're like, oh man, we need to plan for this. So they started buying merchandise. Somebody opened up like an RV parking lot, and they started trucking in water, and they're getting ready to do all this sort of thing. There's like an event promotion.
State of emergency for Rachel, Nevada.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're getting ready, and they even had like an Air Force spokeswoman. Laura McAndrews, who's like, she stated that government officials were briefed on the event and discouraged people from attempting to enter military property.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about that.
Yeah. And people were like, well, they can't stop us all, and then we're going to Naruto run through there, and people are like, they're going to shoot you dead and all this stuff. And we brought up the fact that according to their own signage, they took the deadly force authorized signs down, and they say it's a training area.
Yeah.
So they're probably not going to shoot you, but they will certainly arrest you or detain you. And when we kind of brought it up and people were like, we're taxpayers, they work for us. And it's like, no, the military doesn't work for you. The military works for the United States of America. So anyway, it was a thing. And, people were getting freaked out and we're going to do all this stuff. And then really what happened on the day of the event, we even considered driving out there to see what would happen, but we actually had to go. We went to another conference instead, and I'm really glad we did because on the day of the event, guess how many people showed up?
150.
150, and I think there was 2 people arrested. One person was arrested for peeing outside, and the other one was arrested for actually walking in to the gate. Yeah.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, because honestly, it was much ado about nothing. And it just turned into a little bit of a fiasco.
There were more
people getting scared. Like, Matty Roberts was like freaking out about the whole thing because, they were like, hey, if people show up and they get killed to death, you can be held responsible for it.
Well, as an event promoter, which is why remember like the week before he like completely dropped out and said,
yeah,
I don't support this event. This is all on, and here's the messed up part. This is all on a Las Vegas group and the city of Rachel, Nevada. Yeah. He's like, I've got nothing to do with this.
And they're like, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You created it.
He was the originator of the idea.
And you can't just like pull out all of a sudden. It's like, you can't just start it. So, and there was like coverage, and I think one person actually did a Naruto run through there, but much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the end of the Area 51 And then, some people even made memes about it saying, see, millennials can't follow through. And also, it became a thing, right? And, Area 51 is an open training range for the U.S. Air Force, which that's the first time I've heard Area 51 referred to at all.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say at all, I mean by the government. It's not some secret base anymore. It's an open training range for the U.S. Air Force. You know what else is an open training range? White Sands, New Mexico, and the missile range.
Yeah.
So it's not like this top secret kung fu base anymore. It doesn't hold aliens. They're not going to have like secret alien material there. They're not going to have any of that stuff because they've already reclassified it as a training facility, basically a training range. And honestly, they probably did that as soon as you heard about it. So when you heard about Area 51 a long time ago, that's probably when all that started. Not to say they don't test things there. I mean, it's still an active military facility, but as far as the super duper top secret stuff, it ain't there. It's been long gone.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. So, yeah, a little bit of a thing turned into nothing.
I know, but it just went so viral and it engaged the whole world at some point. Yeah. I mean, there were memes, entire Reddits, entire Facebook groups, pages created to it. Rapper Lil Nas X, Old Town Road, he did a remix specifically about storming Area 51. And then there was like copycat events.
There was lawsuits.
Yeah.
Several pending lawsuits surrounding the festival. Right? And it says, and one of the notes was like, although much less than the estimated 30,000 attendees expected before Robert's departure, and press campaign claiming alien stock was canceled, the event was thought to have brought the largest influx of people to ever visit Lincoln County, Nevada. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they had to develop and draft like an emergency declaration to pool all their resources from neighboring counties, right? Because they were anticipating 40,000 people, and that county only has like 184 hotel rooms.
Oh, wow.
And then, they were worried about the local cell phone network being unable to cope with the additional traffic.
The one gas station.
Yeah, overcrowding at campsites, gas stations, public medical facilities. So pretty much what happened is that once this thing started, picking up steam, the local infrastructure started freaking out. They're like, holy crap, right? Because they even had to get 300 extra paramedics and extra 150 police officers to be brought in across Nevada to go to this just in case this thing actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the things that I thought was pretty funny, like the town of Rachel posted a caution on its website saying, you should be experienced in camping, hiking, and surviving in a harsh desert environment and have a vehicle in good shape. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that it is a desert. It's hot. If your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you can die to death out there because you're not prepared.
Yes.
And their fear was a bunch of people just showing up thinking it's going to be a party and not having to water or, things to protect them from the elements.
A bunch of us keyboard warriors and nerds just going out in the desert.
Nerds, assemble. Get out there and burst into flames because the desert's so hot, man. All those pasty people out there just getting burnt to death. So they were worried. And basically what this is the sort of UFO paranormal version of Fire Festival 2.0.
Very true.
Where all these youngsters paid all this money and went to this, little tropical island to see this concert. And they were eating dry ham sandwiches and had nowhere to sleep. It was a thing.
Yeah.
And Rachel, Nevada has a town population of about 56 people.
Yeah. And that's
outside the base. And they don't really say how many people, are
That's the other thing. The town went from warning everybody to trying to prepare itself to then kind of twisting into promoting and accepting the whole event.
Well, because, they had no choice, right? Because they were at odds. You had the local infrastructure said we can't support it, but then the local business owners were like, this is the best thing to happen to us ever.
Which is what I'm trying to get to. The fact that at one point they started to embrace the whole thing with the owner of the Little Alien, which everybody knows about, began really amping up alien stock. So when Roberts pulled out 10 days before the event,
that was it.
Roberts had at least $70,000 in sponsorship money and donations, which he claims he pulled out due to poor planning. And I think it's
and the fear of being sued to death if somebody died out in the desert. I think
it was more of a CYA. A lot of that sponsorship and all these celebrities who decided to come and join or, help out their sponsorship was through him, not through the town of Rachel, Nevada, or its businesses. So it really kind of put a damper on things. There were people who decided not to go because of that.
And, if you look at the Wikipedia page for this whole thing, and you go down to the references,
yeah,
right, to give you an idea how big this really was, there's 53 articles or little links in here that make reference to this raid on Area 51.
Oh, remember Bud Light?
So for references, you have like 53 references.
Yeah.
Like Arby's was going to bring the meats.
And then, Bud Light was going to name a beer.
And then you have these little articles like, comparing it to Firefest, business booms over Area 51, hype. It turned into a marketing stunt. It's just like list article after article.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Didn't one like YouTube or podcaster send one of their people out to go see it? And it was like, he showed up in the morning. He saw maybe 50 people. He was like, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember who that was.
It doesn't matter. I'm glad we didn't go because I'd have been really mad. That's a long ride to go stand out in the middle of the desert with a bunch of idiots.
I mean, some of these articles, like Storm Area 51 movement getting somewhat out of hand.
Yeah. Storm Loch Ness.
Oh.
Storm the Bermuda Triangle. All these storm things. And then my favorite, Storm Area 51 fails to materialize.
Oh, did you see the one that was because of Storm Area 51, the next one was Storm Bohemian Grove. That one actually had it. Yeah, that one actually had like 1 million, But
either way, you know what happened?
Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing
so there you
at
go.
all.
So we put this in here, and we talked about this. This is our top 9 number 2. We like to include a little bit of news if we can, some relevant news.
Yeah.
Came across this article of Mysterious Universe that says Area 51 and Area 52. Secret underground levels. Right? So, if Area 51 is an open training range kind of thing, then where did all the good stuff go? So, the theory is there's an Area 52.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it's called Area 52.
That's what we're calling it. And it's like Dugway.
Oh.
Yeah, Dugway Proving Grounds. Anyway, so this article says underground levels, the question mark. And I've just always assumed that there were underground levels, period. So I don't know why it would be like this big thing or this, stretch to think that there would be underground levels there.
I mean, because aren't there underground levels at places like in New Mexico, like in Los Alamos?
Well, yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's not so much of a stretch.
So, and when I read this, and this is by Nick Redfern off Mysterious Universe, funny tie-in to Nick Redfern, one of the reasons why we put this. If you listen to our last podcast, we actually talked about, some Bigfoot, alleged Bigfoot video sighting footage coming out of Russia, and it happened to basically talk to Igor Burtsev, who's somebody that we know. I thought that was kind of a funny tie-in to see that. And then here this is, an article written by Nick Redfern, who we actually seen at the Western Pennsylvania Conference on the Unexplained.
Yeah.
And my little brush of fame with Nick Redfern was as he was walking by, I said, Nick Redfern. And he looked at me and I waved at him and he waved back and I was into that. So there you go. I know Nick Redfern now.
Are we going to play 6 Degrees of Creep Geeks?
Yeah, because we could totally do that. And it would be like with Pepper, because Pepper knows all these people. It's like, oh, Jeff Meldrum, Pepper knows him.
Yes.
Bobo, Pepper knows him.
Yes.
Nick Groff, Pepper knows him.
That's true.
I mean, so she knows all these people. I just thought it was funny, like Nick Redfern. Because I was busy, right? And it's because I meant to go over, we were going to talk to him and see if we could do an interview, but it just didn't work out that way. But
yeah.
So it talks about like hollowed out chambers, tunnels, vast underground installations and stuff, about this vast majority of top secret work undertaken that, sort of went into place to make this Area 51 underground tunnel thing.
Yeah.
And evidently, Jonathan Strickland wrote an article that says how Area 51 works. And it says some allege that what you can see on the surface is only a tiny part of the actual facility, right? They believe that the surface buildings rest on top of a labyrinth of an underground base, like a huge underground facility, goes on like 40 levels, has underground railways that connect it to other sites, like you were saying, like Los Alamos, White Sands, Los Angeles.
Yeah, isn't that the theory, though, that, like,
It's all
Denver
interconnected.
Airport and Dulce and Los
It's like a
Alamos
huge hub.
White Sands all connect?
Yeah.
And
that there's supposed to be an underground sort of transit tunnel that submarines can go from one coast to the other.
But when you live in New Mexico and you talk to a lot of Albuquerque people, you start to hear another theory, which is White Sands and Los Alamos, there's a stop in between them, and that stop is the Sandia Mountains.
Possibly.
And
Because we talk to people that are like, yeah, my uncle worked on that.
Yeah.
Just, matter of fact,
And you'll hear really weird stories about that, too.
And all the noises you hear and,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes sense because, hey, back in the 50s, when they, right before, 50s or into the early 60s, right before the Cold War started, they ran all these simulations and realized there's no way to survive a nuclear holocaust but to be underground. So they started building these deep underground military bases, otherwise known as DUMBs, right? And how are you going to get from one DUMB to the other? You can't just have underground military bases, just have pockets there. You got to be able to transfer supplies and all that crazy stuff. So you're going to have some kind of underground railway system or transit or some kind of maglev tube or whatever. And there's even some theories that the Taos hum that you hear in Taos, the mythical Taos hum, is actually caused by an underground boring machine that was trying to complete these tunnels, right? This underground highway system, if you will, using a nuclear boring machine. It uses nuclear power to sort of nuclearize the dirt and sort of melt it and creates this tunnel system that's kind of cauterized as it goes along. Seriously.
No, I was just thinking because we know the story of Dulce and the Dulce base attack thing.
Yeah, with the aliens and reptilians and American soldiers fighting it out, 62 people dead, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Living where we did in New Mexico.
Or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
When we would drive out in an area
that was
called
in Dulce.
The Dirt, and we would see that they had started construction in certain areas, and those big giant tubes that were by the side of the road. And the fact that basically everything was leading out towards this huge mesa drop, and then everything past the mesa drop was completely off limits.
Yep.
Things like very large calcite crystal clusters or yellowish stuff that may or may not have been uranium, that type of stuff.
Yes.
And you're like, wait, this is happening literally in my own backyard or right outside my neighborhood. It's not unfeasible that underground bases, especially in the Southwest, are possible.
Yeah.
So,
according to this article, there's a certain secret base located in Utah. Right? The rival to Area 51 in secrecy and conspiracy is the Dugway Proving Ground. It's also referred to as Area 52. So it's about 90 miles away from Salt Lake City. The Dugway Proving Ground covers a massive amount of Utah's Great Salt Lake Desert, right? Mm-hmm. So the origins of the facilities go back to the 40s and as early as 1942.
Oh, wow.
And they're basically saying that Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed a decree that effectively handed over to the War Department more than 100,000 acres of Utah land, which is where the Dugway Proving Ground would be built.
Is any part of that accessible?
Not done yet.
Oh, okay.
No, not. I mean, I'm sure some of it is, but you're not supposed to go on that kind of thing.
Okay.
It's a base, right?
Yeah.
So they built bunkers, underground facilities. The goal was to create, for the United States government, the ultimate base for the study and development of chemical warfare agents, like a chemical weapons testing base, right?
Yeah.
So as the years progressed, so did the size of the proving ground. 13 years after Roosevelt gave the go-ahead, close to 300,000 additional acres of Utah land was handed over to the military. That would be total altogether. They're saying that the amount of acres is over 800,000 acres in Utah. And yes, chemical warfare is a big part of the base's mandate. So if you look at things like a Bubtalk secret website, one commentator said that they heard stories about installations being built south of Wendover, Nevada, which is to the west of Dugway, and it's also pretty remote. And there's also stories of a 17-story building underground out there. And others speak of deep and massive tunnels that link Dugway Proving Ground With a variety of Utah-based military facilities, and former employees talk about huge elevators that transport people to lower levels of the base. And rumors are that there's no less than 8 levels below the surface, all engaged in highly classified work. Yeah, and all having the ability to withstand a nuclear strike, even a direct one. Yeah. People can't see your face, so...
No, I'm just like...
What?
No, I'm just trying to do the math because, okay, if it's in excess of 800,000 acres, that's larger than some Northeast states.
Maybe.
That's a whole territory. Well, it's definitely larger than Rhode Island, which is 640 acres.
Well, Rhode Island is bigger than 640 acres.
That's what Google's saying. So
what? 640? It's got to be bigger than that.
I know.
That doesn't even make any sense.
I know. So
that means that our underground bunker right now is 1/6 the size of Rhode Island.
That's weird because that's the
silly.
Google search result. But then if you go down to Wikipedia, it says 770,000 acres.
Is Rhode Island? That
which
makes
is
more
still,
sense.
770,000 acres is still smaller than 800,000 acres devoted to military projects, research, and testing.
Yeah.
Which is frightening. I don't know.
Hey,
So, I mean,
it is what it is, right?
As is now research into biological warfare and deadly viruses, I mean, what if some of that stuff is still lingering out there? Because
hey.
It's the desert.
It's 800,000 acres, man. Stuff doesn't die out there. It just seems to last forever. It's probably like big old chemically manufactured ants and all sorts of crazy stuff, big giant bugs that eat this kind of stuff and radiate. There's been movies about it. These documentaries were done in the 50s, these big atomic ants and bugs and stuff like that.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I think the Blob was created that way. Who knows, man? They probably don't do chemical testing there anymore.
Yeah.
They probably sort of came into their own after Area 51 was outed in a congressional hearing, which I'm pretty sure was not by accident. You don't just accidentally talk about a top secret facility that does all of our Black Ops projects and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the people that run the show are probably smarter than our elected officials to some degree because they're good at keeping secrets. So they probably just put a little bit of information out there and told that one dude that they knew would say. It's kind of like telling what's his face who plays the Hulk in the Avenger movies.
Yeah.
What's his name? I don't know. I can't remember his name. But that guy is good at
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. If you want a secret told, you just tell Mark. He can't seem to keep a secret at all. So, I think they even gave him stuff to leak that wasn't even right.
Yeah, they
misinformation.
did.
So they made Mark Ruffalo into the Avengers misinformation agent.
And then the Tom kid, Spider-Man, they just gave him a babysitter. It was either...
No, his babysitter was Robert Downey Jr. for some things and Benedict Cumberbatch for other things, just to make sure that they probably paid those guys like a couple $1 million to make sure that Tom didn't, because he's young and kind of dumb. So.
But then he went on Instagram and accidentally spoiled stuff.
Yeah.
Like unwrapping stuff that came from Marvel.
Yeah, so they had to change things. But so anyway, there you go. So for this particular episode of the CreepGeeks Podcast, our top 9 paranormal news and events of 2019, number 2, is the Area 51 fiasco.
Storm Area 51.
Storm Area 51 debacle, and then Area 51 and 52 secret underground levels. So, yeah, if you want to read more, you can go to mysteriousuniverse.org. And if you want to read more of Nick Redfern's stuff, who does write a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting stuff, you can go to nickredfern14.blogspot.com.
Yeah.
And Nick, if you're listening, dude, spend $10 and get a real domain name. What? It's true. I mean, come on. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. Blogspot is cool and all, but why not have www.nickredfern.com? Spend the $7, buddy. $8. Maybe somebody's already bought it. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be messed up.
Yeah.
Poor dude.
So you'd be it should be like www.heynickredfern.com. That's if anyone was walking by, I was like, Nick Redfern. What's up, Nick Redfern? So he was just looking around, I'll wave to him. And he waved back who is this guy and what's he doing? So anyway, there you go.
Yep.
So this has been our top 9 paranormal news and events of 2019. Number 2, Area 51 Fiasco. Yeah.
Yep. And guys, if you have anything to say about this episode or any feedback about our top 9, contact at CreepGeeks.com. And don't forget, you can always call and leave a message for the show. That phone number is 575-208-4025. And we do put all show notes or links and things we talk about in the show notes for each episode.
Yes. And all that's available on CreepGeeks.com.
Yep.
If you want to send us an email, you can do the contact at CreepGeeks.com. Say hello. Or just hit us up on Facebook. Do a little direct message to action. You can do it on Instagram too. But whatever you do, don't call our toll-free number and go, hey, I got a story. Call me back.
Because we're not.
Because we're not going to call you back. It's like, I'm not going to call that person. And he's like, call. You're like, hello, we heard you have a story. You know, this is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or
like, hey, can you meet me in the Walmart parking lot so I can tell you the story?
Yeah.
It's like, no, man. I'm not getting murdered off Craigslist, and I'm not getting murdered at Walmart either. So, call me back. No, not calling you back. Just leave a message.
And,
So. But no, if it's really important, we will call you back.
yeah.
But it's usually not. I'm just saying. Our experiences so far have been it's not that important.
Or you want to sell us business cards.
Yeah, that was my favorite. It's important. It's like, oh man, let's go check it out. No, it was not important. It's like, I know I don't need business cards. We already have them. It's like, I drove 24 miles round trip to not even get a hold of the person that called because they wanted me to get business cards. Like, have you ever heard of Vistaprint? Get them for $10, man. I spent more in gas going round tripping and making a phone call from a freaking parking lot to talk about business cards to a person that wasn't even there. Not cool, bro.
Anyways.
So anyway, Vistaprint.
Facebook.com/CreepGeeks Podcast.
Yep. Anyway, there you go. So hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just let us know. But either way, see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.